The storm that afternoon was unlike anything the city had seen in months. Thick gray clouds clung to the skyscrapers like heavy blankets, and the wind pushed against them as if trying to tear them apart. People hurried with their umbrellas, some broken, some barely surviving the angry gusts. But inside the tall glass building on 7th Avenue, surrounded by polished marble floors and ceilings that sparkled with imported lights, Maria Santos stood completely still with a cleaning cloth in her hand, watching a man she had never seen before. He didn't look like he belonged there. Not because he was poorly dressed, quite the opposite. His dark navy suit looked pressed by the gods themselves, his shoes shone like midnight mirrors, and his watch, she didn't even need to guess its value, she knew it was more than her entire year's salary. But despite all that, he stood in the corner of the lobby, shoulders lowered, head bent, one hand gripping the railing as if he was moments away from collapsing. Maria glanced around. The guards were busy checking bags. The receptionist chatted with a woman dripping water from her umbrella. No one noticed him, except her. The cleaning lady, the invisible worker, the one people often walked past without even acknowledging. She wiped her hands on the apron tied at her waist, walked toward him, and said softly, "Sir. Are you okay? You don't look well." The man lifted his face. His eyes, usually sharp, calculating, a storm of their own, looked lost. "Empty. I'm fine," he muttered, but his voice betrayed him. "Just overwhelmed. Do you need water? Or a chair? You're shaking," she asked gently. He blinked at her, surprised. "You noticed?" She almost smiled. "You look like you're carrying the entire world on your shoulders." Hard not to notice. For a second, he closed his eyes as if absorbing those words. Then he nodded. Maybe water would help. Maria walked quickly to the side hallway where employees kept supplies, filled a small paper cup at the cooler, and returned. He drank it slowly, each sip steadying him. "You work here?" he finally asked. "Yes. Cleaning staff. Just finished the 12th floor." He studied her face. Honest eyes. Rough hands. A warm presence he didn't know he needed. "I'm Arthur Hale," he said quietly. Maria froze. Arthur Hale. The Arthur Hale. The owner of Hale Financial Group. Billionaire. One of the most powerful men in the city. She had cleaned his portraits on the executive level for 3 years, though she had never met him. The guards whispered stories about him, how he saved companies from collapse, how he bought dying businesses and revived them, how he once turned a $2 million investment into $500 million profit in a single quarter. But the man in front of her didn't look like that legend. He looked broken. "I didn't recognize you," she admitted. "I just saw someone who needed help." A faint breath of a laugh escaped him. "It's rare. People usually only see the suit. Maybe they should try seeing the person inside," she replied. Something in him softened. Before he could speak, a security guard approached quickly, worry in his eyes. "Mr. Hale, we didn't know you were here. Should I arrange a car, sir?" "You look." Arthur raised a hand. "It's fine. She already helped me." The guard looked at the cleaning lady with surprise, as if trying to understand how this tiny woman with fading sneakers and calloused fingers managed what the entire building staff could not. Arthur pulled out his phone, intending to leave, when Maria gently said, "Whatever is troubling you, I hope it becomes lighter soon." He paused. The kindness in her voice struck deeper than any business advice or corporate strategy ever had. "Thank you," he whispered. She nodded, picked up her cleaning cart, and left, never imagining that she had just saved something much bigger than a moment of sadness. Something worth $500 million. The next morning began like any other. Maria woke at 5 a.m., prepared breakfast for her teenage son, kissed his forehead, and hurried to catch the bus. She didn't think about the billionaire from yesterday, not because she didn't care, but because in her world, life didn't give space for such thoughts. Rent was late. Her son needed new shoes. Her mother's medicine was running out. She had to work, survive, hope. She reached the building before most employees. She always did. Today, however, something felt strange. The guards were whispering urgently. 2 executives stood in the corner, worried expressions on their faces. The receptionist kept glancing at the elevator as if expecting it to explode. Maria continued her routine. She dusted the lobby plants, cleaned the glass doors, wiped the silver handles. Then she moved to the 3rd floor, a floor used only for finance and security teams. Usually, she wasn't allowed inside rooms with restricted labels, but she was permitted to clean the general office spaces. She entered one office, vacuumed, emptied the trash bins. But when she reached the desk of a young financial analyst, she noticed something strange. A folder lay open. Inside it was a printed document labeled, HFG Internal Transfer Authorization, Urgent. At first, Maria didn't pay attention. Finance people always had numbers scattered around. But as she wiped the desk, her eyes accidentally scanned the text. It was a transaction order. A very large one. $500 million. $500 million. Her heart skipped. She glanced again. It was set to transfer funds to an offshore account, one she recognized because the gossip had reached even the cleaning staff. A rival company had been trying to sabotage Hale Financial Group for months. Rumors said a mole was planted inside the company. But no one knew who. Her chest tightened. She shouldn't look. She shouldn't even touch it. But something didn't feel right. She picked up the folder carefully, noticing the signature line. The signature was missing, but a forged one lay loosely paper clipped inside, waiting to be attached. Her breath caught. Someone planned to authorize a $500 million transfer using a fake signature. And the transaction was set for today, in less than 3 hours. Maria felt the room spinning. If this went through, the company would lose $500 million. And everyone would blame Arthur Hale. His name was on the authorization line, which meant, this was the reason he looked devastated yesterday. He must have sensed the betrayal. He knew something was wrong but didn't know what. And now, here it was. A cleaning lady wasn't supposed to touch documents. But she couldn't ignore this. Her hands trembled as she closed the folder, placed it exactly where she found it, and rushed out of the office. She didn't know finance laws. She didn't know corporate rules. But she knew injustice when it stood in front of her. She headed straight to the elevator. Straight to the top floor. Straight to Arthur Hale. The executive secretary blocked her immediately. "Excuse me, this floor is restricted. Cleaning is done after 7 p.m. You can't, it's urgent," Maria insisted. "I need to talk to Mr. Hale." "That's impossible. He's in a meeting. You can leave a note." "No, please," Maria pleaded. "It's about a transfer, $500 million. The secretary froze, then pressed the internal phone. 30 seconds later, the office door opened. Arthur Hale stepped out. He looked tired, but alert. "You said something about $500 million?" he asked quietly. Maria nodded. "I saw a document downstairs. An authorization for $500 million. But the signature wasn't attached. Someone is trying to forge it. It's scheduled today." Arthur's pupils widened. "Show me." They rushed downstairs together. The secretary followed. A guard followed. No one understood how a cleaning lady became the center of a corporate emergency. When they reached the office, the folder was still there. Arthur flipped through it, his jaw clenched. This is the account they tried to hack last month. This format, this handwriting." He lifted the forged signature and exhaled sharply. "It's Chris," he whispered. Maria didn't know who Chris was. But the entire room did. Chris Lang, senior analyst, trusted employee, one of Arthur's own protégés. Arthur dialed his security team instantly. Orders were given, systems blocked, accounts frozen. Within 20 minutes, the $500 million transfer attempt was disabled. Within 30 minutes, Chris Lang was escorted out in handcuffs. But none of that shocked the company as much as seeing a cleaning lady, tiny, soft-spoken, unnoticed, standing beside the billionaire she had just saved. Word spread like wildfire. By afternoon, every news outlet wanted the story. But Arthur refused. "This was internal," he said. "And she deserves peace, not publicity." He called Maria into his office before she left. She entered nervously. Her hands twisted in front of her. She avoided the expensive carpet, afraid even to step on it. "Sit," Arthur said gently. She obeyed hesitantly. For a long moment, he studied her, this woman who had nothing but kindness to give, and yet managed to protect what even his high-paid executives could not. "How did you know?" he finally asked. She shrugged lightly. "I didn't know. I just felt something was wrong. The signature wasn't there. People don't leave something like that out. And, after yesterday, you looked like someone in trouble." He exhaled deeply. "You saved us," he said. "You saved $500 million. Do you understand how big that is?" Maria shook her head. "I just did what felt right." Arthur leaned back. "Do you know what the analysts were planning to give to the person who flagged this breach?" "No, sir. A $500,000 bonus." Her mouth fell open. "I can't give you that," he continued. Her chest sank slightly, but she understood. She didn't expect anything. I'm giving you more. Her breath froze. You're being promoted. Effective immediately, you will no longer clean floors. You will work directly under the security and audit department. You'll be trained, educated, supported, and paid a six-figure salary. Her vision blurred. 6 figures. She had never imagined earning even a fraction of that. Why me? She whispered. Arthur smiled softly. Because you see what others miss. You see people. You see details. And yesterday, you saved me, Maria. Not just the company. You saved me. Tears rolled down her cheeks. Thank you, sir. I don't know how to. You already did, he said. By being who you are. Maria left the building overwhelmed, clutching the offer letter in her trembling fingers. She wanted to call her son, wanted to tell him everything, wanted to run into her mother's home and show her that life still rewarded goodness. Arthur watched her from his office window. For the first time in months, he felt hope. Real hope, and he whispered to himself, sometimes the richest hearts belong to those the world calls invisible. The next morning, Maria came to work in a simple blouse and black trousers, new clothes she bought with borrowed money because she wanted to look appropriate for her first day in her new department. As she entered the building, the guards smiled at her. The receptionist waved. The executives nodded respectfully. People saw her now, but she didn't let the attention change her. She simply walked with humility, ready to learn, ready to grow. Arthur passed by her desk later that afternoon. How are you settling in? He asked. Trying my best, she replied honestly. That's all I ever needed from anyone, he said with a smile. Over the next few months, Maria proved herself over and over. She was sharp, observant, trustworthy. She caught mistakes others overlooked. She prevented another attempted breach. She helped restructure internal security protocols with a perspective no one else had. And Arthur, he found himself talking to her more than he talked to anyone else. Her grounded nature reminded him of the very foundation he had forgotten in the world of numbers and power. She reminded him of humanity. She reminded him of humility. One evening, as he walked her to the bus stop after a late meeting, she said, "You know, when I first saw you that day, I thought, this man looks lonely." Arthur laughed under his breath. Was it that obvious? She nodded. You looked like someone no one really sees. He stopped, realizing the irony. You saw me, he said. Maria smiled. And now you see me. That moment changed something unspoken between them. Not romance, not infatuation, something deeper. Respect, gratitude, connection. Months later, during the company's annual celebration, Arthur took the stage. Employees clapped, cameras flashed, the room buzzed with excitement. But instead of speaking about profits or expansion, Arthur said something unexpected. Before we begin, there's someone I want to honor, someone without whom none of us would be standing here with a secured future. The crowd murmured. Arthur turned toward the front row. Maria froze. Please join me on stage, he said. Stunned, shaking, she walked up. Arthur laid out the entire story, how she noticed what others missed, how she confronted danger without hesitation, how she saved the company $500 million. By the time he finished, hundreds of employees were on their feet, giving Maria the loudest standing ovation the company had ever witnessed. Tears streamed down her face. She had been invisible all her life. Today, the world saw her. After the event, Arthur gently placed a plaque in her hands. It read, "To the woman who saved more than money, she saved us." She ran her fingers over the words, overwhelmed. You deserved this long before any of us realized it, Arthur said quietly. She whispered back, "Thank you for believing in me." He smiled. "Thank you for believing in me first." That night, Maria walked home not as a cleaning lady, not as someone fighting for bills, not as someone struggling through life. She walked home as a woman who proved that kindness can change the fate of giants, that courage hides in ordinary hearts, and that sometimes the smallest voices save the biggest empires. And deep inside, she carried the truth she learned. No one is too small to make a difference, not even a poor cleaning lady, not even someone the world never noticed. Because goodness, no matter where it comes from, has the power to move mountains, and even save $500 million without knowing it. Sometimes, the world overlooks the people who shine the brightest. Sometimes, the strongest hearts belong to those who struggle quietly. And sometimes, a simple act of awareness, a moment of courage, can save not just a person, not just a company, but an entire future. Remember, Kindness is never wasted, goodness is never small, and the people the world ignores are often the ones who make the biggest difference.